What's good, everybody? I'm BPC and welcome to Competitive Origins MMA. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell, or else you'll never know when these videos go live. And ground and pound that like button on this video, please. Now, today's topic is Tony Ferguson done? Well, Khabib seems to think so, and I want to talk about that and give you my opinion on where I see the status of Tony Ferguson in just a moment. But first, I want to point out that I'm wearing a Competitive Origins Get It Done t-shirt, and you can get it done at competitiveorigins.com. Now, if you type in promo code MMA21, you'll get 10% off your order. Now, a portion of the proceeds will go towards the channel so we can provide a better experience for you guys at home. You've been competing since conception, whether you're competing against yourself or others, Competitive Origins. So, Khabib came out and basically said Tony Ferguson is finished. Now, to even get to that point, we have to go a little bit back, okay? Now, Tony Ferguson, El Cucuy, was supposed to face off against the Eagle, all right? Khabib Nurmagomedov. And they were going to do battle for the championship. I believe this was probably going to be the 5th time they were going to match up. Now, COVID struck and Khabib was not able to get out of the country to meet Tony Ferguson so they could do battle. Well, the UFC said, you know what, we need another contender to go ahead and fight, save the pay-per-view basically. And Justin Gaethje was that man. He said, I'm willing to step in, I'm willing to fight. Now, obviously, this was the best circumstances for Justin because if he lost, then he would just wait his turn in line to eventually fight for the title. If he wins, then he gets to jump the line and go straight into a title fight. This was an interim title bout, basically. And, Tony said, all right, you know what, I'm a G, interim belt, I'll go ahead and do it. Obviously that's going to mean more money for Tony as well. If he gets the interim belt, he gets a percentage of the pay-per-view buys. So that's more money in his pocket. Tony has come out and said he feels he's been cheated out of at least $500,000 by his management company, by Conor McGregor, by the UFC, so here was his opportunity to make a little bit of extra cash. And I have a video on that topic towards the end. If you look at the link, just check out the video and you'll see more of what I'm talking about. So, Tony Ferguson went into battle, and it didn't turn out exactly how he wanted it to. He faced somebody that was, I feel, a better striker. He was very patient, wasn't just going after Tony, trying to attack him, and he hits extremely hard. Now, if you don't know he hits extremely hard, all you have to do is watch a lot of his fights, and you see he's knocking people out left and right. So, he did not knock out Cucuy. He went in there, he did battle, he took a lot of shots, Tony was definitely devastated. He was dominated. He took so many blows to the head. Now, Tony's reasoning for the loss was that, Justin went ahead and trained with his former teammates. That's where he got the advantage, and then he also went ahead and said that he trained for a grappler in Khabib, rather than a striker in Justin Gaethje. Now, my response to that is, I totally get it. Maybe you did train for a grappler, but he did have several weeks notice prior to this fight to kind of switch it up. Now, maybe that's not enough for him, but, I do think it was, a decent amount of time. Now, as far as the teammates that that Justin supposedly trained with, or at least these are the claims that Tony came out and said, it's like, at the end of the day, watching this fight, I think he could have trained with the Cookie Monster and still had the same result. Now, I'm not trying to make jokes here, but Justin was just on point, and I think when you actually break it down, this comes down to a factor that Tony was on top for a very long time. For him to win 12 straight fights is something that most fighters will never accomplish. And it's like, why is he supposed to win a 13th fight? Most fighters don't win 13 fights. So it's for him to go 12 fights, it was almost inevitable for him to lose. And when I say inevitable, I say this because all the fighters that are coming behind him are able to study all his fights, are able to see why he's so successful, and then they're able to utilize their best attributes to beat Tony in connection with the game plan that they see they can utilize against him based on all these fights that he's competed in. So it makes perfect sense as to why Justin was the perfect fighter to come in and do what he did against Tony. Now, Dana White came out and almost kind of downplayed Justin's win by saying, but let me put a disclaimer in there. He did say he didn't want to put it down, but at the end of the day, he kind of put down his win by saying that Tony cut weight multiple times. He cut weight on the date he was supposed to fight the Khabib fight. Now, yes, the Khabib fight was already canceled, but mentally, he wanted to get into Justin's head and to say, hey, I'm El Cucuy, I'm coming for you. So he wanted to cut weight and then show that he was a G and come back and cut weight again and then win the fight. Well, it didn't go that way. And Dana thinks that played a factor in it. Now, he's come out and basically said that wasn't why I lost the fight. Tony said, I did not lose the fight because of weight cutting. He's leading to the other reasons as to why he lost the fight. Now, like I told you my reason, I just think that Justin, was very patient. He was a better striker, and he just hit very hard. He had a lot of time to study El Cucuy, and that is why he got the victory. Now, Khabib, it's so easy to, you see the K in front of his name, and it's so easy to just say Khabib when it's really Khabib. Now, the reason why Khabib came out and said that Tony is finished is because you don't take that much damage and come back out normal, which I totally agree with. There's been some brawls that some of these fighters have been in where they've taken a lot of damage and they were never quite the same afterwards. There's a couple fighters that come to mind, and all of a sudden, like Lawler. Lawler, got into some nasty brawls, you know what I mean? And took some shots and absolutely delivered some shots. And for him to come out the fight normal didn't seem likely. And next thing you know, he's susceptible to a quick punch that just knocked him out by Tyron Woodley. And it's like, wait, this guy was in some brawls. We took hundreds of blows to the head and he was perfectly fine. So like I said, like some of these fighters just never come out the same. There's a lot of other fighters I could talk about, but this video is about Tony Ferguson. So that is me addressing, Khabib's thoughts on it and why he thinks, Tony's finished. Now, moving on, Tony got a 3-week notice fight. I believe it was 3 weeks. That's what I thought I read. I could be wrong. But he got a 3-week notice fight to fight this past Saturday night against Charles the Bronx Oliveira. Now, Oliveira was coming off a really great victory against Kevin Lee. He submitted him in the 3rd round. His jiu-jitsu was really on point. But, Tony was the favorite coming into this fight. And when you matched them all up and they clicked on the attributes on who was better in what areas, the general thought was that Tony was going to beat him in a lot of different areas and Tony should get the victory. Now, Dana White had already came out and said that, the winner of this fight could be a potential fight for Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now, when Dana says that, that's not a guarantee, and that doesn't totally mean that that's going to happen. How I see it, it's more or less if Dustin were to beat Conor, then, Dustin's not getting that title shot against Khabib because Khabib already said he beat him. Now, if Conor were to get that victory, well, Dana's going to push for it because that means a lot of dollar signs. But at the end of the day, Khabib says he doesn't want to fight Conor either. He says he's choked out both fighters. He made him tap. He has no interest in competing with these guys anymore. Now, it was more or less a neck crank and not a choke on Conor, but we get it. He made him tap, and that's why, he's still the champion to this day. Now, in regards to, Tony, he's been trying to book this, Dana White I'm referring to, has been trying to book a Tony Ferguson, Khabib Nurmagomedov fight, like I said, over 5 times. So, this is maybe going to be number 6, to have these two do battle. So that's why he kind of left the door open to say, if Tony gets it or Oliveira gets it, they may be the next ones to challenge for the title. Now, I don't think he's just going to push Oliveira right into a title shot right away. He might want to have him fight some other people before he's ready to push him into the fight. Now, these guys did go out, they did battle, and, they started off on the feet, and it quickly went down to the ground, and we quickly saw that Oliveira was a lot stronger than Tony. He took him down with ease. and then he was able to keep him on the ground. It almost seemed like his jiu-jitsu was just 2 steps ahead of Tony's at all times, and Tony couldn't get out of it. It was really interesting to see this. It was almost like a changing of the guard. The youngsters are coming in here, and now, they're showing that it's our time now. Tony's had his time. Yeah, Tony won 12 straight fights, to think that, Justin Gaethje got a title fight and he didn't even friggin' fight, or he hasn't even fought 12 times in the UFC, and and he lost several times as well, and he got a title fight, and here Tony got, won 12 times in a row and still didn't get a title fight, so it's really interesting to see how it played out. And now you have Oliveira that's showing like, hey, I'm the man now, Mr. the Bronx basically did his thing, and he kept Tony down, and he even put Tony in an armbar, okay? Now, this was nasty, Daniel Cormier was a commentator on the fight, and he asked Joe Rogan, he said, hey, did you watch that? Did you watch the armbar? And Joe said, yeah, I watched it. Daniel said, I turned away because it was that nasty. See, this is my arm fully bent, okay? It cannot go anymore. Tony's arm bent down to here. His elbow, goes this way. It does not go the opposite way. It was almost like that. It was absolutely gruesome. It was almost like Tony Ferguson is Stretch Armstrong or Gumby or something along those lines, because the guy didn't tap, the arm didn't break, I really hope he doesn't have anything torn on that arm, but Tony made it through and he continued on fighting. He didn't tap, the bell rang and they stopped the round. He went back to his corner, and a lot of people thought he had severe damage, but Tony still came out and tried his best. Tony has a lot of heart. That's his best character, trait. When you look at a lot of his fights, there's some fights where he got caught, he got dropped. He seemed like he was really in danger, and he was still able to overcome the odds and pull off an amazing victory. Anthony Pettis dropped him, and he rolled around and got out of it and still came out with the victory. Kevin Lee got him down on the ground and seemed like he was in control and dominating, and he was able to, to choke him out from the ground, So it's really interesting to see that, that Tony has, like I said, he's faced adversity and he's still been able to overcome it, and I was really hoping that was going to happen in this fight. But Oliveira was playing the game that Tony plays, and this jiu-jitsu thing was just really serious. He kept him on the ground the majority of the time and didn't really give him a chance to get out of it, And then when they did strike, Tony wasn't really getting the better of the exchanges there either. So Oliveira just basically showed that he was a superior fighter that night. Now, does this mean that Tony Ferguson is done? No. It doesn't mean he's done. Guys, like I said, these guys are younger than him, They've had a lot of time to watch his fights. 12 wins is a lot of opportunity to see what Tony Ferguson does in his fights to get the victory and what you can do differently, how you can utilize your attributes to beat him. He does have some losses as well, so therefore it's like, okay, well, let's see his losses. He has a long resume, and that's going to give these guys the ability to see, okay, how can we beat this character? Tony hasn't been training for these fighters for years. He hasn't been these guys haven't been on Tony's radar for all this time, because they haven't been doing it at the level that Tony has. Tony has to have Khabib on his mind. He has to have Conor on his mind. You know what I mean? All these other fighters, Dustin Poirier on his mind. So for these youngsters to come in and get this victory, it's because they had better attributes than Tony, and they were able to study Tony's game plan and just basically work a game plan that was going to beat Tony. Now Tony's 36 years old. Okay? He's 36 years old. Is he done? No. He still has an opportunity to win. He's going to have to be very picky moving forward, because, he's going to have to improve his game. He's going to have to see where he was beaten, and he's going to have to see what he can do to improve upon that. And he's going to have to be very selective on the fighters that he takes moving forward. He can't just be doing this, a month notice, 3 weeks notice, I'm ready to fight. It's like, well, is this the best fighter to go against where I'm going to secure a victory to put me in position to get another title shot? There's a lot of fighters that have just beaten the right people and gotten title shots. They didn't necessarily beat the best person to get a title shot. So that's where Tony is at right now. Tony has to be very selective moving forward, or else he's going to be utilized by the UFC as just a fighter who's going to be used to bring all these other fighters up, the 12th rank, the 10th rank, the 8th rank, and bring them up and get them higher ranked. We don't want to see Tony go out that way. You know, a lot of people feel he wasn't done right by the UFC. He should have gotten this title fight, you know, and really been able to prove it. And yes, he is older now, but he's just going to have to be a little bit wiser, which, you know, with age, you will get wise. He's very knowledgeable, you know. His knowledge of the game is absolutely on point. You know, it's just he's going to face fighters that have been studying this whole time and that are going to have physical attributes that are going to supersede his. So where does Tony go from here? Like I said, he has to recover and take the right steps to get ahead, you know, pick those right fights, and hopefully, you know, Dana throws him a bone and he's able to get back into a title fight. Now, this week I will create a video that talks about what are the chances of, you know, Tony Cucuy Ferguson getting another title bout. And it's going to be really interesting what I have to say about that. Go into the comment section and fill out and tell me what you think about Tony. Do you think he's done, you know, and where you see him going forward, moving in his career? You know, go to competitiveorigins.com, type in promo code MMA21, and you'll get 10% off your order. I'm BPC. Thank you and have a great day.